Hey guys, this is a video that I filmed early last year. I've got a haircut change since then. Just talking about my experience in Airbnb, packing as much value as, if I was to start again today, this is what I would follow and just giving you a breakdown. So enjoy the video and comment below with questions. Today, we're going to go through the following. A bit about me, how I got started, what you can get from the course I'm selling, or if you want to go about it yourself, the types of deals that you can do with owners, how they work, how to get them, all the different places, what percent you can charge. Then we're going to look at feasibility, which means finding the right properties. We're going to do a little overview of that. And so you know how much you're going to earn from a property before you even get started. And then I'll just summarize the business model and like all the moving parts of the machine, so to speak. All right, so yeah, I grew up in the western suburbs of Sydney, out in Minto Heights. We lived in a pretty good house in a pretty bad area, and then we actually got robbed quite a bit. I remember waking up once, there was a robber at our back door. He had like a hoodie on and a goatee. He was like trying to open it. And I went in and woke mum up. I was like, "Mum, there's a guy at the back door." She's like, "Oh my God." Wakes up. Then like we find he's gone to the laundry room and he's thrown a brick wrapped in a t-shirt through the door, and he's got his hand through trying to open it. And then the same guy like stole my Nintendo, my trampoline. Like my dad was chasing him with the Nintendo through the yard, and the cords are like kind of dangling out the sides. So and then when I started going into central Sydney and Bondi Beach and stuff, when I was older, when I was a teenager, it looks like the promised land or something. Like, I used to deliver jumping castles, and people in Vaucluse, like the most expensive area, they'd have like a skip bin out the front when I'm delivering the jumping castle, and they've just got like a brand new boxing bag, like a punching bag, and like that's worth like $500. And I was like, oh, I'll go get it when I come back, and it was someone else took it. But I think that life should be more towards the Vaucluse than the Minto, rather than worry. You go from worrying about money to worrying about people stealing from you to like not having to really worry about either. So I was always fascinated with getting rich when I was a kid. Even when I went to the casino in Sydney, and I saw the big fish tank, I was like, oh, I want to own a casino one day. Or I'd watch Donald Trump on the Celebrity Apprentice, and always want to be like that guy. Then I had a bit of a mindset shift, and I think it's not about being rich, it's just about being free. So even though Donald Trump, for example, might be a billionaire, he's probably very time poor. He'd probably work like 10 hours a day. So I came across this book called The 4-Hour Workweek that's taught by Tim Ferriss, a serial entrepreneur. And he teaches how to leverage other people's time and systems to create rules for other people to work within, to run your businesses for you. So that's how I kind of set out starting this business. The main things are, processes, outsourcing to virtual assistants, which is people overseas, and basically using them as an extension of me. So at the start, I was doing it all. And if you start, you'll be doing it at the start as well until you scale up. And then once you have enough money, enough income to pay for someone else to do it, you then pay for someone else so you can spend more time getting more places, and you kind of just repeat that process. So I focused on high cash flow management deals and rental arbitrage deals. And basically my goal is to make as much money as I can and work as little as I can. I don't like working a lot of hours per week. I like to have time to go to the gym and, party, be hungover if I want to, hang out with friends, standard stuff, go to the beach, go traveling for months and months of the year. So I just spent a couple of months in Ibiza, June, July, August, and then a month in Scandinavia, a week in Amsterdam, and I got back in October. So I skipped the whole Australian winter, which is June through September, and spent it in summer in Europe. So I've made some pretty fun changes to my life since building this business, and removing myself as a bottleneck from it, which a lot of business owners get stuck in. So you can remove yourself from the job, but then if you just give yourself a job and you become a slave to your own business, you oftentimes have what's it called? Done something. You're in a worse position than when you had a job, because when you have a job you can finish at 5 p.m. But when you have a business, your neck is on the line to make sure stuff is done. So you can find yourself just working. All right, so let's talk about the types of deals. Basically, the theme, if you haven't seen already, we manage short-term rental properties on websites like Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, HomeAway, Stays, Expedia, etc. Basically, there's management deals where we take, say, 20 to 30% fee for managing a place on behalf of the person that owns it, or we rent a place that is already furnished or unfurnished, and we put our own nice furniture in there that increases the value on the short-term rental market. So we take something, say $500 a week, and then we rent it out for, say, $1,200 a week, and we make, after cost, maybe $500 a week. So that's, in that scenario, we're making 50%. In the management scenario, let's say it's renting out for $1,200 per week, you might take 20 to 30%, so you're making $250 to $300 a week. You're doing the same amount of work, but you're getting less. However, you don't have to outlay money at the start. With the management deal, you just get the keys, start hosting, do the work, start getting paid. With a rental arbitrage deal, you're renting it, so you're paying oftentimes the first month's rent as a security deposit or bond. You're paying 2 weeks rent or 1 month's rent in advance. Then you're furnishing it as well. So for a studio or a 1-bedroom might cost you 10 grand to furnish it, including your time or a stylist's time to do it all. So it's you have to outlay a lot more money at the start for a rental arbitrage deal, but then you get that money back quicker because you're keeping a higher percentage of what you charge the guests, if that makes sense. Management deals, it's all done. You get the keys to a place that's already finished, and you make your percentage straight away. So if you don't have money to start, you go with the management deals. Or if you want to take less risk, like you don't want to put your own money in at the start, you get management deals. Or if you want to just get started like the way that I mostly run my business, and you've got at least 15 grand, then I recommend the rental arbitrage option, based on my experience. You can also get guaranteed rent deals, but still managing the place. So, for example, sometimes there might be someone trying to rent their place for $500 a week. And I'll say, hey, I'll give you $600 a week, but I won't rent it off you. I'm just going to put it on short-term rental sites and manage it, and I'll pay you $600 a week instead of $500. But I'm not going to pay a bond. I'm not going to pay a deposit. I'm not going to pay any rent in advance. I'm going to collect the bookings after the month is completed. I'm then going to pay you the $600 per week. I know it sounds too good to be true, but I have done that many times. So the good part about that is it's kind of like a rental arbitrage deal, but you don't have to put your own money up front, if that makes sense. So you're, rather than splitting the take with the management deal, you're guaranteeing the take. So there is risk if you don't make the money that you promise, but you keep everything beyond. So if you're making $1,200 and you promise the owner $600, then the take is still like 40% after the costs, instead of 20, 25, 30% on a management deal. The next way is finding super luxe places anywhere in the world that are poorly managed. For example, on Airbnb only, maybe they've got a bad pricing strategy. And what you do is you create listings on other OTAs, online travel agencies like Booking.com, HomeAway, VRBO, etc. That the place isn't already listed on. You add, say, 20% to the price that the owner is currently asking on Airbnb, and then you take bookings. You have a calendar connection between them so that you don't get double bookings, and then you take a referral fee of your choice. So you might take the full 20%. And basically, it's like the same margin as a management deal, but you don't even have to do the work. You just send them the booking to the people that don't know how to host very well. And yeah, and there's like unlimited options of that. Like, not all good places are managed well. There's like 20-bedroom villas in Bali on the ocean, and they're just on Airbnb only because maybe the owner is doing it themselves. Maybe they're getting a crappy management company to do it. So there's a lot of opportunity in that method as well. The other way is finding owners that are already hosting on Airbnb and struggling to do it. So a lot of people, they just have one listing. I think most hosts on Airbnb, they have one listing. And they're often doing it on the side. So it's impossible to become an expert host with only one listing because you're not getting the reference experiences from like all the different moving parts of this business. And therefore these types of hosts, they get poorer reviews because they don't have systems. They earn less because they have a lower occupancy rate because they don't have the cleaning team to turn over a place in a couple of hours. So often they'll block a date or two between guests. They'll clean it themselves. They don't know the pricing strategy, so they'll be like, oh great, my place is booked up for the next year. I must be doing a great job, but actually they're charging too little, which is why it's booked up, and they might have left 40% on the table. So what you can come in and say to them is, hey, I noticed you're doing Airbnb. That's great. I know how stressful it is. How about you give me a chance? I'll take the workload off you, and I'm confident that I can earn you more than you already do, even after I take my percentage. How's that sound? I found many hosts management deals doing it like that, and also guaranteed rent deals as well. If they're really bad, they might have a place that could rent on the long-term market for $500 a week. Maybe they're earning $600 per week on Airbnb, and I'll say, how about I just pay you $650 a week, and I'll do a guaranteed rent deal with you, and I'll keep the rest. How's that sound? Guaranteed. Sometimes they get offended by that kind of thing, but sometimes they take it. So you got to pick your battles. Before we jump into how to find owners, I just want to say that a little bit more about my work history. So I started in Stockholm in 2016. I moved there for a girl, and it didn't work out. I was dating her in Sydney, but I ended up staying. And I was like, how am I going to afford to live here? Because it's $23 for a gin and tonic in a nightclub, and that's like about an hour's pay. So with what I was doing, I was still working for my dad, doing some marketing online for his Jumping Castle business. And I noticed how expensive Airbnbs were in the center of the city. When I got there, it was like a private room was, for 1 month, was double or triple the price it would cost to rent the whole apartment. So I actually rented a place with a second bedroom. I lived in the small bedroom, rented out the main bedroom. That was my first Airbnb. And then I just started doing guarantee and management deals and rental arbitrage. Yeah, I did rental arbitrage once there as well. Did that for 2 years in Sweden, got up to 27 properties, got scammed by a Filipino virtual assistant, was stressed out of my mind, didn't have any systems. I was like working from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. Since then I got bored of Stockholm, came back in the end of December 2018. So that's 4 years I've been back in Sydney now. I've built it up to 20 places in Sydney, and I've still got 2 left in Stockholm. I just let that go down. I didn't keep trying to get new business there. So I built it back sustainably, and now I can work as much as I want, or as little as I want. I work more when I'm trying to grow the business, and less if I'm just sustaining. So when I was in Ibiza, I was just working like an hour or 2 a day, mainly just pricing and checking that my virtual assistants were doing what what they're supposed to according to the statement of processes that I've got in Google Docs that they follow. Just making sure that the business keeps churning how I taught them to. So yeah, high points, having lots of properties, making lots of money. Low points, getting scammed. Yeah, why I built it this way: to earn more, work less. My goals are to just have a good flow of income to support a good lifestyle, invest in property, invest in crypto in the bear market, and to hopefully make a couple of million in the next couple of years to buy a house in Bondi Beach, because they go from 4 to 5 million for something decent and close to the beach. Now, what you might take from this free training, if you want to do it yourself, or the course, if you want step-by-step guidance to skip all the mistakes that I made, and do it faster and save time when you're doing it, so you can skip the lessons and just get straight to the actions. You can either do it like a startup company and get 100 plus listings and then sell it for millions. So there's been many examples all around the world of companies that do it like that. Or you can do a lifestyle business like me, which is also saleable, but I'm not trying to get to 40 or 50 listings. I'm just happy to have the system that I've got now, because I've got goals in music that I want to chase, rather than growing my business forever and then just being old and rich. I want to be old, rich, and fulfilled. So that's why I'm chasing my dreams. All right, let's go to how to find properties and owners. So we've covered the difference in the amount of work and margins. I actually think that management deals are slightly more work than rental arbitrage deals, because you're dealing direct with the owner. For me, I actually rent through real estate agents, these rental arbitrage deals. So I'll find a place on the websites where you typically rent a property. I'll sign a lease that says that I am allowed to do Airbnb. Like, I'll literally get them to add an addendum with permission to do Airbnb and other short-term rental sites. And then I'll just be dealing with the real estate agent, and I'll often rent multiple ones through the same real estate agent. And real estate agents are more professional than owners, which are just general people of the public. Some are professional, some are emotional. So then you have to actually provide customer service to the owner, give them reports, work with them on stuff. Like, I much prefer the rental arbitrage, because you just automate payments. You don't have to send reports or anything. You just set up a payment from your bank account to the real estate agent, who then they talk to the owner. So that's why I like rental arbitrage, apart from the side of making more from it as well, like a better margin. Furniture, I'll just touch on that now. I usually try to get stuff from Facebook Marketplace. I've actually furnished most of the places myself. So I've got 12 or 13 rental arbitrage deals, and the rest are management deals. And I furnished almost all of those places myself. So I take 10 days to furnish it. I rent a van with one of those apps where you pick them up from the street, or you can get a rental car company, rent it for 10 days, buy heaps of stuff online, but buy the expensive stuff like couch, TV, fridge, bed, secondhand, in new condition. And you often get it for like 50% off the retail price or more. And that's how I save the bulk of my money to furnish a place at a lower cost. Or you can just pay a stylist for their time to do that, and then you can skip that and scale even quicker. But I had a lot of time in the pandemic to furnish places, so I was like, I may as well just do it. So when you get a management deal, basically you're rather than bringing money to the table with a rental arbitrage deal, you're bringing time and skill to someone who doesn't have that. When we calculate our percentage, we either calculate it on what the guest pays on Airbnb if you want to make the most. The way I do it though is I take it from the payout that we receive from, say, Airbnb. So Airbnb takes their percent, then whatever payout we get, I take it from the top of that amount, and then I add a cleaning fee. That's how I do it. Or you can do it even less and take it from the payout from the OTA minus the cleaning fee that you charge, and then from the leftover amount, that's the nightly fees, and you take the percentage from that. But I've got friends that do it from what the guest pays, which actually ends up adding around 5% on top of those numbers. If you're doing it from the nightly fees, you might be getting 20%, or if you're doing it from the guest payment, it's actually more like 25% if you calculate it back from the nightly fees. So it just depends on how big of the pie, what the guest pays from the total payout from the nightly fees. So the percentage of those pies as like a slice is going to be bigger, obviously. All right, let's take a look at Facebook Marketplace and how you find properties. So you basically, it's pretty easy. So you just scroll through here, you find places that you might rent. You basically just go type in Facebook Marketplace to Google or navigate there from Facebook, and you click property rentals, and then you can set your parameters in here. Now I only really do one bedroom places and studios, so I won't change that. You can set your location in here. That's fine. And then you can just message them in here. So generally I try and find, if I'm going on Facebook, I try and find either real estate agents where I can do a rental arbitrage deal, because a lot of real estate agents rent on here. I think Nook kind of acts like a pre-market real estate agent as well. And then you can also deal direct with owners or people that live there that are going on holidays for 6 months and so on. So that's a really good way to find owners and chat with them directly in real time. You can see if they've read it and so on. Facebook groups, you could type in real estate investor Facebook groups, like many groups like this with like rich people or wealthy people that they're already trying to make money from real estate. So if you can get them a better yield, like maybe they're getting 3 or 4% return on their they might have a whole apartment block or something, and if you can increase that by 1 or 2% and manage the places on Airbnb, etc., then they're going to work with you. So the strategy in these groups is basically creating value and say, hey guys, my name's James. I'm working with short-term rentals. I've actually got a unique pricing strategy that allows me to charge the most out of any other host and squeeze as much income out of a property as it's humanly possible. What I do is this, and this, and then maybe you comment on other people's stuff. It's not so much like people posting here about property, bit of a spammy group. But if someone's posting there saying like, hey, this is what I've just purchased. Should I put a tenant in there? What's the best way to, or should I flip it? Then you could just get involved and like comment on everything, and eventually you'll get a little badge that says like top contributor or something like that, and it builds up trust in that group. And then you can start bringing people that post in here and comments on other stuff into your messenger inbox, and you can start converting them there into your customers in management deals or rental arbitrage, anything really. Then in Australia, we've got Domain. Oh, we want to rent. So this is more for rental arbitrage, or if you want to get management deals from here, you actually have to copy the name, type in RP data to Google, and this is how you find the property owner's name. Where is it? You go here and you buy a subscription, and you can actually see the owner's name, and then you search them on LinkedIn, and you start your sales process from there. You start saying something like, hey, my name's James. I noticed you're trying to rent out your place for $2,700 a week. We're in the middle of summer right now. Borders have just opened. I notice you've got it already furnished. Would you consider maybe a management deal? I think that after you do feasibility on it, you'd say, I think that we can earn maybe $3,500, $4,000 a week for you with this type of property. What do you say? Let's give it a try, blah, blah, blah. If you are doing rental arbitrage, the strategy is either calling the real estate agent up. So you can literally just call their phone number there and say, hey, my name's James. I really like this place. It's still available. Then they'll say yes, blah, blah, blah. We'll go inspection, and then you say, all right, sweet. I really like the place. What I actually do is corporate rentals and short-term rentals. We do it professionally in the Service Paradise area or wherever you're located. Do you think that this owner would be the type to go for that kind of thing? And then if they say, oh, I don't know, blah, 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 you say, well, if I inspect the place and it's to our standard, we'd be happy to put in a higher offer of maybe $1,200 a week or something like that. Do you think that they'd be more motivated by money or something like that? And then you can get a feel, and you can kind of warm up the agent, because you've got to kind of get the agent on your side, because they're the gate between you and the owner. So you need to convince the agent to bring this case to the owner, and you need to make the agent feel comfortable that you're not going to remove them from this arrangement, because they're always concerned that they're going to lose it because you can just go direct with the owner, right? I don't have an interest in that, because owners don't know how it all works and so on. I just prefer to keep it professional and keep a lease and keep an agent, so it's all done by the book. The other way is to literally just rock up to the inspections and say all this in person. Sometimes the agents won't answer their phone or their emails, so you can get them in person, and that's actually the highest conversion percentage of going about this. But obviously it takes more time, because you might go to 10 places and they're like, oh no, the owner wouldn't like that or whatever, when you could have found that out on the phone if you could get them on the phone. But they're also, if you do it in person, they're more likely to say yes. I mean, it doesn't make sense when you say it like this, but they are more likely to say yes if you ask them in person than asking over the phone or email, because they can't see you in person when they're on the phone or email. So it's easier for them to just say no. Like, no, they'll just go with the easier option of, no, we just do long-term rentals, blah, blah, blah. So it's all about winning the real estate agent's trust, basically. Then if worst comes to worst and you really find a place that you like, that there's nothing else like, you've done your feasibility, you know it's going to make a ton of money on Airbnb and the other sites, and the agent won't bring your offer to the owner, then you go to the RP data option, you find the owner's name and you try and contact them directly and say, hey, did the agent tell you about our proposal? We'd love to rent the place at $1,200 a week for 2 years. This is what we do. We'll furnish it. We'll do a lease, just like a normal tenant. We'll pay the rent every week. We'll keep it in better condition than a long-term tenant. It's going to be cleaned 2-3 times a week, professionally clean. We're going to get on top of any maintenance straight away, because we need it in tip-top condition for the guests, so it's actually going to be kept in better condition for guests. If you ever need to sell it, it's going to be always presentable, and we can just show people that want to buy it through. You just put the sale on them then, instead of the agent, because the agent has to they're going to put your pitch to them, right? So you're going to have a better conversion rate at selling what you can do for the owner than the agent would. So yeah, if you find the owner's name on RP data, or wherever you are in the world, there'll be a service like that, most likely. I know in Sweden you can literally just Google the address and it shows the owner's name and their phone number. Like, it's ridiculous. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, those are your best friends. There's also things like Rocket Reach. I think rocketreach.io. It's like you could get a free trial, and you can just type in their name and maybe where they work or whatever, and you can actually get their email address for their work. In Sweden, I was using blocket.se. It's kind of like a Craigslist or a Gumtree or a Facebook Marketplace. So basically every property that gets rented, either through a real estate agent or a private owner, gets listed on that website, and it's similar in a lot of countries around the world. In Australia, there's Gumtree. I think it might be in the UK as well. It's kind of like Craigslist that's on the way down. So some people don't know about Marketplace. They'll list on Gumtree that no one uses anymore, and you can actually get fridges really cheap or properties really cheap because they think that no one wants to rent it, but it's actually because no one uses the website. Word of mouth. Don't be shy to just tell everyone what you're trying to do, and some people will have parents or whatever. Just tell the whole network of what you're doing, and sometimes you'll find that people will actually say, "Oh yeah, my dad actually has a place in Surfers," or "the dad has a place or a building in New York," or you never know what will come back. And also with people that you start working with, tell them that you're actually trying to get more places. And you can actually increase the conversion rate of that by doing a referral campaign and say, hey, if you know anyone that has places that I can manage, I'm willing to cut you in on what I'll earn from that, a percentage for the first 6 months or so. Next option is handing out flyers. So you just go to vistaprint.com.au or .com or .co.uk, I think, or find a similar site. You can design the flyer using Canva flyers, like Canva templates. Right, you can add a logo that you can generate on namelix.com using AI. Oops. Namelix. Airbnb rental company. And then it's just going to generate a bunch of, and you just keep scrolling and it just goes forever and ever. And then you can actually pay for the logo pack as well, like $50. You can get all the logo source files, brand guide, business card designs, social media graphics, logo mockups, and then you can drag those files into one of these templates, change the colors, and then all of a sudden you've got a flyer within the space of like 1 hour. And then you just go around to the properties that you know the area works. So maybe it's by the beach, maybe it's close to the ski slope, maybe it's close to the city center. Could be anywhere. Or if you're working remotely, you pay an Airtasker. You send it to the local Vistaprint, you get it printed there. You pay for it online with credit card, and you get an Airtasker, which is like a you can post a task, any kind of task, and then you pay like per hour or a set fee. And you can like if you don't trust that they're going to do it, you can like get them to take photos of like all the flies poking out of letterboxes once they're done. Flyers, Google Ads. So I can just give you this guy that I use, Philip Silabod. Basically, I just pay him like $50 an hour or so. I meet with him once a month, and he manages my Google Ads, or every couple of months. And yeah, he does SEO for hotels and stuff, but he also does pay-per-click and analytics. So rather than paying a ads manager to manage your ads for $500 a month, just pay someone for 1 hour a month, which is probably the amount of work that they typically would do. And then you could learn as well on a Zoom call. And basically what you do is you set up a one-page website on like MailChimp, for example. And you take your name, might be homelyrentals.com, .co.uk, whatever, and you set up a one-page website. And then when someone Googles Surfers Paradise Airbnb management company, you'll come up here. It'll say homelyrentals.com.au, and then you pay per click. It might cost you, $5, $10, whatever per click. But once you get one deal, that basically covers your ad spend for like the whole next 2 years. That's the maths that I'm seeing in Stockholm, because I still run ads there. the next way you can do, if you're managing remotely and you've done feasibility on a city far away and you're going to build your business there and work remotely, you can get a sales rep using Airtasker. I actually used a guy called Barry when I was in Bali for 2 months on kind of a digital nomad trip. I got Barry to go to my inspections for me and say, hey, I'm Barry from, at the time it was Xanadu Hosting, our company. And he took a video, he'd send it to me over WhatsApp. He would tell the real estate agent or the owner a bit about our business. So he'd kind of be the face of the company. We had like a shirt for him with our company logo. He'd wear suit pants and suit shoes, black shoes, looking all professional, more professional than I would look if I was going there. And yeah, then I actually signed up a place. I paid a stylist. I did it all while I was over in Bali, and we just got it done. Then I paid a photographer to do it, and we had the listing up and running when I wasn't even in the country. And you can also use Airtasker, by the way, to build out your team: cleaners, handymen, tradies, someone to inspect the cleans after the cleaners to make sure the checklist is done. And you can just work wherever in the world. And if you have a virtual assistant that's covering the availability hours you need for your guests to reply to their questions, then you can just be anywhere in the world and then work whenever you want. Going to inspections, I've covered that. The other option is just bulk messaging, like every real estate agent in the city using a virtual assistant or yourself, and say, hey, we're looking for corporate properties. We do vacation rentals, corporate rentals, blah, blah, blah. We're looking for furnished. We're looking to rent them. Or that's if you're doing rental arbitrage, or in marketplace, you just message everyone that has a place available within the radius that you're trying to rent one. Say, hey, have you ever considered renting a place on short-term rentals? We actually own owners more than 20% above the rental market, or 30 after you do your feasibility. Find out what number's correct. And then you see what comes back. You might get 2% of the 100 people that you message, or 2% of the 1,000 people, and you might get 2% of 100, that's 2 people. 2% of 1,000 is 20. You might get 20 people replying saying, oh yeah, that sounds cool, tell me more. And then you convert a couple of them, and then you've just, after a bulk message of 1,000, you might have two or three management deals. Now, when deciding what percent to take, you typically base it on what the market is charging. So in London, it's actually very low because the competition is high and the prices are so high. Even of a studio, it's like £6,000 a month on average, in Mayfair, etc. So 12% is actually quite a high amount for a management company. I know in Sydney it's 20%. I'm not sure in the other cities. I am currently, since I don't really want to get more places, I'm actually saying 25% to new people, or maybe 22 if it's a good place. And I just say, look, I do a better job than anyone else in the city. A lot of them have high minimum stays. If there's a 4-night gap, they're not going to drop the price to try and get it booked. They're not going to drop the minimum stay to try and get it booked. So you get a worse occupancy rate. So it's better off just paying someone that actually cares to manage your place correctly, because they've all got over 100 listings. I've only got 20, and my attention is not spread out across 100 listings. So we're actually going to care about your place and care about your income. So it's worth paying the extra 2 or 5% or whatever. If they don't agree to that, you can just do a free trial at the market rate to then prove to them, and put in the contract that you'll increase the price that you agree on later on once you've proven yourself. And you also got to sell that you cover the fee that you're charging yourself. So yes, the fee is higher, but the pie that you're this might be the pie, this circle that I'm in here might be the pie that I make an owner, but maybe if someone else is charging 15%, the pie is only going to be this big. So the 15%, the slice is smaller, but it's of a smaller pie. So they may as well just rent it out through a professional, so that the slice, even though it's 25%, it's a quarter. Look at how much bigger that is than that little pie that I made there. If someone's only working at an occupancy rate of 60% and not changing their minimum stays and prices, etc., and letting the place get damaged. Scams, just be careful. Don't pay anyone without a contract. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. There's scams on all of these sites. Make sure you meet anyone you do business with if possible. Watch out for low ratings on Facebook Marketplace, for example. And do KYC, know your customer, on them when signing contracts. So I often just bring my passport along, prove to them that I am actually James Rubiolo, and I ask them to do the same, because you don't want someone that's just putting some random name. That actually happened to me in Stockholm. I rented this place, and the guy, I didn't even get his name. I just said the company name, and he signed the signature, and it wasn't even the name of a real company. So I ended up losing like $6,000 from that, because he kept my deposit and future rent at the end of the agreement. All right, feasibility. I'll touch on it briefly. You go to Airbnb, you find out how much a place is earning per week. You find out what the rough occupancy is, and you figure out how much that place is earning. Then you go to wherever places are typically rented out on the long-term market and compare the difference. So if it's $1,000 a week on the long-term market and they're making 2,000 or 2,500 a week on the short-term market, accounting for occupancy rates and seasonality, then you know what the margin is. So you know how much room you have to work with in converting this owner that has the place and maybe is considering renting it out for $1,000 a week. Maybe they already have a tenant in there. You convince them to let the agreement expire with the tenant and do short-term rentals. You need to know what the maths are so that you can convert a place into a short-term rental. Maybe with a rental arbitrage, you know that you can increase your offer from 1,000 to 1,200 a week because you know you're still going to double your money. And you can also use airdna.co to do this work for you. But make sure you check it. I'm just going to log in one sec. Okay, so I've actually paid for Surfers Paradise for this just for the sake of the course that I was recording. And then you can just see the occupancy rate, the average daily rate that they're charging, how many days it's available, so you can check if it's actually a full-time short-term rental property. Look at that. So this one, average daily rate $700, occupancy 70%, so that's their revenue. Then you can verify if that's actually true. Yeah, looks like it's about 700 a night. And then you can see, okay, but they've only got 9 reviews, so how long? They've only got 1 review here, so that's actually not a good data point. And then you just keep going until you find one where the numbers check out, or the listing has a bunch of recent reviews. Nothing in November or August, but it's got 89 reviews, so it looks like it's mostly listed on Airbnb full-time. 372. You can see the calendar's mostly full, so it's either booked up or someone's living there. If it's booked up, maybe that's because they are charging too little. They don't have a cleaning fee, I notice. Then you just find that place on the websites where you would typically rent a place long term, you know, with a view, with the same amount of bedrooms, with a similar level of what's it called, renovation. And then that's how you do your feasibility, basically. So things to consider: occupancy rate, it's how often the place is actually booked; seasons, how bad is the seasonality. In beach locations, it's often double in the high season than it is in the low season, depending how far away you are from the equator. Like Bondi Beach, Byron Bay, fairly far from the equator. Bali has low season, which is the wet season. Stockholm, not a beach place, but has an amazing summer and a terrible winter. So the rates are like four times. You earn like at least 4 times as much in the summer per month than you do in the winter. So you got to consider that. Yeah, what are they charging per night? Looking at the reviews, how many reviews have they got? They should have a couple of reviews a month that would demonstrate if it's a full-time Airbnb, so you can see if it's a good data point. Yeah, you check domain, real estate, Block It, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, find another place of that standard to see what it would cost on the long-term rental market, so you can figure out what the margin is. Hotels, it's not that big of a comparison factor. But basically, you just do the same for hotels, see what hotel rooms are charging, and do a comparison. Especially if you're going to be eventually booking on Booking.com and Expedia, where hotels are listed, then you're going to be competing with that market. So if you price yourself along with the hotels and you've got the kitchen and so on instead of just a hotel room, then you can often charge what the hotels are charging. You've got to be aware of regulations. So in New South Wales or Sydney, I'm not sure about the Greater New South Wales, it's 180 nights a year for Airbnb and for short-term rentals. And if there's a booking over 21 nights, it doesn't count towards your 180-day countdown timer. So you have to change your pricing strategy for winter to fill it with 21 night stays to get through. So you want to check, obviously, before you get involved, what the regulations are. If anyone's asking, is this all legal, etc., the only way Airbnb and short-term rentals would be illegal in an area is if it's actually regulated and illegal. I believe cities like New York and Amsterdam, etc., I think it might still be legal. They just might have a cap of like 30 days a year, which would then make that place not a possible place to rent it, unless you can find a way to do it with long-term rentals only. Maybe they have like a minimum stay that they're allowed to do it of 30 days or 90 days and so on, and you can do that. But it's not if it's not regulated and registered as illegal by the government, then it's not illegal. It's just a deal between you and the owner or the real estate agent, where you get that clause added, and you can do whatever you want, whatever you can agree. And if it's not illegal, then you just add it into the contract and then you're free to be hosting. It's all good. Seasonality, styling. So styling is really important. Let me just show you my website. Internet's really slow today. I'll just pause it till it loads. Okay, so I've gone for a bit of a Mediterranean look for this one. Same for this one. This one more of a premium look. This one's in a hipster area, so I went with a what do you call it? Like a funky kind of look. This one's a older apartment, but I did like a beach house, kind of a relaxed beach house vibe, because it's got the view, which is why I got the older apartment. So it's still worth it. But I haven't gone super fancy with the furniture. I've gone with the style to kind of fit with the actual apartment itself. So this one is a New York style loft. So we've got the Chesterfield couch. We've got the 1920s kind of ads from Diesel. You know, distressed furniture, older artwork. There's we call it the Bondi Cloud Surf House. So older furniture to match the older apartment. Manage guest expectations. So that's what I went for. This one, also a bit of an older apartment. So we've gone with similar thing. It's a bit of a warehouse vibe. It's got higher ceilings. Got the old poker machine in the corner there on the left. Distressed furniture, old advertisements. Chuck a few cactuses in there. Fake plants. Old ladder there on the balcony. This one was a renovated apartment, but I still went for that beachy, distressed look, because that's kind of the vibe of this location. And there's that funky one. This one it's a management deal with a minimum price guarantee to make the owner feel comfortable with jumping in, doing this with me. And then I got the owner to fund the furniture and I furnished it. So I charged her $3,000 to furnish it. I just did it myself instead of getting a stylist. I don't know, I had nothing else to do at the time. And then it was a $10K budget to spend on furniture. So I just got it all from Facebook Marketplace whenever I could. Vintage shops and so on. Trying to get to the bedroom. There you go. Okay, soon finishing. Then you obviously need to check if you need to charge for VAT or GST when you do that feasibility. Hosts in Australia or New South Wales, I know for sure that they don't charge GST, which is tax, because we're renting out residential accommodation, but some places around the world do charge some kind of tax or of some kind on these kind of bookings. Then you want to look at the kind of demographic that's going to be staying of the area. Is it going to be tourists? Is it going to be couples on weekend trips from somewhere else nearby? Are they international guests, Asian guests, corporate guests, big groups, small groups, and find what works the best in your feasibility. I know in most city centers, it's studios and one bedrooms that have the highest feasibility, because that's the almost all group types are or most group types are groups of one or two rather than more than that. All right, let's talk about the moving parts of the business. So we've got the OTAs, the online travel agencies, the marketing channel, so Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia, etc. When you start out, I recommend just sticking with Airbnb, building up those profiles. And then eventually you'll get a channel manager, and that will be sending out automated messages to the guests. Then anyone that messages from these OTAs will go into the inbox of the channel manager. So you just have one dashboard to run everything. You have message templates in the channel manager. If someone asks about parking, type in parking, select, there you go, there's your answer for parking. So you don't have to keep typing stuff out. Then you've got the pricing software that plugs into your channel manager. Your channel manager then adds, say, 17% to each OTA pricing. So you're covering yourself for the fees that these OTAs charge. The cleaners use your calendars within the channel manager, so they can see the cleans booked ahead. They can see any notes that you add for each booking. You can see how much linen you need. If you have enough time to launder the linen, you're going to be laundering linen at the start until you can eventually get a linen supply company that can deliver to your storage. You've got supplies that you supply, which is covered by the cleaning fee that the guests pay on top of their booking. You've got a lockbox that the guests use to check in, so you don't check any of your guests in person. Well, I don't recommend that you do either, because they're always late, and it's just easy for everyone, including the guests, to have a lockbox to check in anytime they want. Photos, I recommend just getting a professional photographer, but have a good iPhone camera so you can quickly get a listing up while you're waiting for photos for a photographer to be done and edited. You're also linked to your channel manager. I use Hostaway. Payments, so if you get a direct booking on your direct booking site that Hostaway can generate, Stripe or PayPal will then take that payment and then put that in your bank account. If you're registered with OTAs, the OTAs just put it in your bank account. I've covered pricing software, bank account, insurance. So typically you need to have, whether you need it or not, you should always have an insurance that covers you from any liability. So you should talk to an insurance broker. I can recommend one if you're in Australia, or recommend just Googling short-term rental insurance brokers. Call all of them, and you'll get within half an hour of calls, you'll get a good scope of what you need to be covered for in your market. Often it's if you damage the property, if you were negligent, if there's any damage, if the guests get injured or anything like that, like public liability insurance, then you need to check if you're required to have insurance as well to make sure you have the minimum level of cover. And it is worth noting that Airbnb has some insurance coverage on their bookings, $3 million in coverage, I think. Virtual assistants. I teach that in the course. It's quite a detailed process on finding a good virtual assistant, but the website is Upwork if you want to check it out. And you basically list what's it called? List everything that you need done by that virtual assistant, and I strongly recommend you put a word like elephant or something that's just like in the middle of the text and say start your application with this word, so you know if someone read through the whole thing. I actually put multiple words throughout the thing, and I only read applications from people that put in every word in the way that I mentioned, that like one at the start, one at the bottom, the last word needs to be in capital letters with a full stop after it, etc. Because then you can test their attention to detail, because you really don't want to hire a virtual assistant that does not have that, because it's a waste of time for everyone. Owners have access to the channel manager if it's a management deal. They don't if it's a rental arbitrage deal. That way they can see what's going on. They can block a date if they need to do some maintenance or whatever. You've got repairmen, typically just contacts, plumber, electrician. I think that's it for repairmen, isn't there? Other specialized ones though as well. You just have a list of contacts. If you don't have it, you Google it at the time, you get the cheapest and the fastest acting one to repair the problem. And then once you get enough scale, like say 10 places, I've got a guy called Miles, and he does everything from checking that the cleaners did the exact checklist, making sure that we've always got plenty of stock of shampoo, body wash, linens, etc. If there's an aircon not working, TV won't turn on, Wi-Fi issue, Miles is going to go out there and do that. So you need to find someone that can do that if you're not going to do that yourself. I've got him on a part-time contract. I'm sure you can find someone where you just pay them per hour for every problem that occurs, so you don't have to pay so much. You could probably get them from the start as well. And yeah, so there's a whole bunch more. My course will teach details of all of the above and a whole lot more, which we'll list the curriculum on the website here, so you can see everything that we're breaking down. So reach out to our team if you have any questions. Book in a call with us to see if you're the right fit for the program. And yeah, if you want to go about it yourself, I wish you great success, and thank you very much for watching till the end.